Hello, everyone, and welcome to IAedChat Live. We are bringing you the latest educational news each month and are pleased to be able to connect with you tonight. We have a very special guest this evening. Dr. Joe Mazza is here, and he will be introduced in just a few minutes. You can connect with Joe on Twitter at Joe_Mazza and also at MakerDads. As you can see, tonight's chat will have a live video stream, and we will be taking questions from the audience. Please submit your questions via our hashtag on Twitter, which is hashtag IAedChat. We will monitor this feed, so please do not hesitate to share your thoughts. We will get this show on our podcast later tonight, and if you've not checked us out on iTunes or Podomatic, please subscribe today. Connect with us that way. That would be fantastic. We're going to start with some introductions. I will kick it off and introduce myself. I am Dan Butler, and I'm an elementary school principal at Epworth Elementary in Epworth, Iowa, part of the Western Dubuque School District. I'm going to hand it off to Andrea.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrea Townsley, School Improvement with Grantwood AEA, working with about 5 or 6 school districts of their 32 districts. So excited about the chat tonight. And I'll go ahead and introduce our guest tonight is Joe Mazza. He is a former school principal, teacher, bilingual administrator. He spurs innovation across faculty, students, and alumni of the UPenn Mid-Career Doctoral Program in Educational Leadership. He is a frequent speaker, blogger, and podcaster, both in the U.S. and internationally, on family and community engagement and brain-based learning for students and adults. Mazza is a strong relationship builder committed to on-demand and online learning and ensuring students and adults at home and at school understand and harness the power of networks for learning. Mazza's innovative work has been written about in 15 books since 2005, and his first 2 books set to come out at the end of the year, Lead Learners, Building a Culture of Empathy, Innovation, and Empowerment, and hashtag EdRightNow, the podcast or the product of a recent 10-person writers retreat for Rutledge Eye on Education. Dr. Joe Mazza is from the University of Pennsylvania. He's a lecturer. He is the founder and CEO of MakerDads, and he's the head of innovation and school leadership at schools. So I'm excited to hear about several of those things later today. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, guys. It's nice to see you both here tonight.
You bet. Anything else you want to add to that introduction that I've missed?
No, it was already way too long, so I'd love to just kind of jump in on our topics tonight and chat with you guys. Coming to you here from Wildwood Crest, New Jersey. Today was day 1 of our family vacation. We just got the kids to bed, so got some time here.
Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time out of day 1 of your family vacation. That is fantastic. What we'll go ahead and do is get started on our first question, but please don't hesitate from the audience to throw us some questions as well, and we will get those out to Joe. The first question I have for you tonight is talk to us about your path in education and the road that has brought you here with us tonight.
Yeah, it's I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, and I think it has a lot to do with me turning 40 and a lot less to do with this is my 20th year in education. But at any rate, I think when I said, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be an elementary school teacher about 20 years ago, I didn't quite know what I was jumping into on a lot of different levels. And of course, no one really knows a whole lot about the day-to-day teaching, learning, and leadership when you're just coming out of college teaching. But, looking back, being a third grade teacher, being a bilingual administrator, being a building principal for almost 8 years, working with cultures from all over the world, there's a couple things that are really starting to come out as these are the really important things that I want to focus the next 20 years in education on. I was principal until about 3 years ago, switched over to higher education, been working full-time at the University of Pennsylvania since then, and we're going to talk about a couple of new launch points this year, but I'll stay on faculty to lecture, but really I'm just trying to take the family community engagement piece that I've been working on over the last 5 or 6 years, really add the father component. I've learned a lot in the field. I've learned a lot off Twitter and through a lot of educators, but I've never learned half as much as I've learned from my 4 kids. So I've got my own small basketball team at home, and they're kicking our butts on a daily basis. We're just trying to learn as much as we can for them. And so, yeah, I've got 4-year-old Mark, 2-year-old Molly, twins Mickey and Keely. And, I'm just focusing on trying to be the best dad I can be on a daily basis, and trying to support the wife. And, so we're excited to finally go on vacation. We've been watching everybody's beach pictures all summer long, and this is the time we typically like to come down to the beach when everybody's going back to school. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, welcome in. We heard that you've been doing some brand new work with fathers. Can you define Maker Dads for those of us who haven't been following the Maker Dads hashtag over the last couple of months?
Yeah. So Maker Dads actually came out of EdCamp Leadership, which was at the end of June. So it's only been the idea is really only a couple months old. And really define Maker Dads as dads, granddads, other male role models, because you might not be a granddad or a dad, but you might be a guy out there that does a lot of work for kids, typically steps up when someone needs a chaperone, or is a neighbor that's a close friend of kids, really trying to help them. So anyway, it's those folks creating life and learning experiences for kids. We focus on empathy, empowerment, and innovation. And I'm basically working this fall to get out to schools, spend 2 days with each school that we visit. Day one being a all dads day. So we have activities in the beginning of the day, at lunch, and then in the evening. All around dads, all around innovations. There's 25 father engagement stations that will basically be parking in the parking lot of the school. I have a very large black van. It's going to be wrapped next week. And inside that van will be all these father and community engagement stations. So things like 3D printing and coding and robotics and, calculating, charging the Tesla how many times from one side of the country to the other. So we're going to set up a lot of different activities for dads to work with their kids on. The Maker Dads piece is something that's going to help me get back into more schools, not only to work with kids and parents, but day 2 of this opportunity is really about working with staff to make sure that this is not an assembly. This is not just something that I go into a school, spark the innovation. In one case, we're actually building a innovations lab in a school in California in a couple of weeks. And so we're spending an extra couple of days there, but this will be their first taste of innovation that they've ever really offered to parents and teachers and students. So it's exciting. It's exciting work. It's growing. I'm just looking at more ways to be inclusive about this work. And I think we're at a time right now where there's a lot of fragmented stuff going on across our country in a number of different ways. And I feel like, and we'll talk about dads and principals as moms as principals later, but this is one of those movements, Maker Dads, that every parent can be doing things outside of formal school for their kids and with their kids. So yeah, it's exciting work. I'm in this work in real time every single day. Not a whole lot with the 9-month-olds right now, but Mark's 4 and Molly's 2, and they've got me busy making things on a daily basis. Today we're out there making sandcastles, and if you check the Maker Dads Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, we were sharing out some of the best sandcastles and some of the best creations that were happening out there with kids and dads.
So we'll follow up a little bit. You're taking the show on the road a little bit and coming to an area near us, quite honestly. You're making a little bit of a Midwest tour, as we understand, in probably just about a month or so. So talk to us a little bit more about that and what's in store.
Yeah, and I apologize for the background noise. I'm in a hotel lobby. It was the best internet I could find on a Sunday night. But so Maker Dads. If I'm talking to you and you're an educator at that school, or you're a parent at that school, or you're a kid at that school, here's kind of what it's going to look like. So let's say there's a Thursday, Friday. That'll be the 2 days of Maker Dads. Wednesday night, I'll come in. And if you're within, 15 hours drive, 12 hours drive from Philadelphia, I'll drive there. The one I'm doing in California in a couple of weeks, I'm flying out to LA, renting the same van I have, and then bringing the van to the school. So it's all about being purposeful with our informal opportunities. So I'll pull up into the parking lot, we'll park the van, we'll put safety cones around the perimeter of the van. Those safety cones will actually be a go-kart track for kids and their dads later, but inside those cones we'll have tables, we'll have picture a giant tailgate. When you go, I know you Iowa folks are getting ready to have a big tailgate at Kinnick to host my Penn Staters in a couple months. Actually, in 1 month, I'm going to be out there for that, which I'm very excited for. But instead of the chili and the beer and the snacks and all that, picture, this is a place where kids are going to build something with Legos. This is the place where they're going to learn how to do Minecraft or Roblox. This is a place where they'll be creating something on a 3D printer that's supposed to help your community. There'll be a Tesla parked out front, and the wings will be up on the sides. And inside that Tesla, there'll be dads and kids and granddads and other male role models with kids calculating how many charges you're going to need to stop on the side of the road at a charging station to charge that Tesla Model S, for example, to get all the way across the country to New York City. So what we're going to really try to do is turn the volume up on innovation, help kids understand what innovation is through a design thinking process, through empathy. There's some virtual reality opportunities on the Maker van that allow someone to look through the lens of someone else. So really from an elementary level, and this year we're really focusing on elementary schools, at Maker Dads and having all these experiences. And I guess being around the elementary school lens for 20 years now, I've seen a lot of different learning activities, both formally inside school and then exterior things that come into the schools. And I guess as a school principal, not too far out of the game here, I'm thinking about what truly matters. What parents and educators, where the intersection is with this makerspace work. I want kids going home after they're done building things during the Maker Dads activity and saying, you know what, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, I wish I had a place in my house to make. I wish we could carve out a space in the basement, maybe in the garage. So that's the goal, is to spread innovation. Spread this love of making and creativity through empathy, innovation, and empowerment across schools in the United States. So yeah, we've got 9 schools booked, and working really hard to prepare, and it's going to be really exciting. I'm still able to teach at Penn, and when my classes this year, I've opened up some bandwidth for myself, and that's been the most important thing. Over the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot in a very thin level. And this year I'm really going to kind of focus on the Maker Dads piece and a couple other items.
Awesome. Thanks so much, buddy.
I know we'll probably talk quite a bit more about Maker Dads before the evening is over. But what I want to hear more about now is, over the past several years, you've been engaged with a number of innovative practices. Talk to us a little bit about your initial efforts with social media and digital tools.
Yeah, so I was that principal back in 2006, 2007, and Twitter was just coming on. Facebook was around for a while, but it was really at the time where if you're an educator or a principal and you're using Facebook, people were looking around like, do you value your job? Why would you be on social media? It was like a bad word back then. But fast forward the tape a couple of years, there was more and more communities leaning on Facebook and social media to be connected, to get to know others. And working in a school with 27 languages, just because we had language challenges didn't mean we had digital challenges. So when we had the back to school nights, we did some polls to help families or help us as educators understand where our families were. And I know you've heard this, meet families where they are. I actually got this from Chris Weir, W-E-J-R, up in Vancouver, which is a beautiful city in Canada, or that I've never been to yet, but hopefully we'll get up there. And he said, meet families where they are, meet parents where they are. And I got thinking about that, and because it really has no effect on whether we're using tech or we're not. We're meeting them where they are. So for the grandparents that still get the newspaper, the parents that still get the newspaper, we're going to have hard copies available for those families in terms of our communication. There's other folks that use social media on a daily basis for their job. So by me not being ready as an educator, as a principal at school, oftentimes I'm holding parents back from engaging with the school. And I ended up doing a dissertation on that work back in 2013. I published it, and I've really been trying to continue along those lines of, how do we continue to build communities? Social media is evolving, it's changing. There's new things being introduced. There's tons of apps for what really matters. We'll talk about Schoolsy, I guess. From here, it's kind of a good segue into that, because a lot has to do with family community engagement. And it's really the first interface that I've ever seen measure in a quantitative and a qualitative way family community engagement at a school. And it's all based upon the research of Karen Mack, Joyce Epstein, Ann Henderson, 6 types, dual capacity framework. And so that's Schoolsy. I put out a release a couple months back when I started officially working with them. And I'm a geek. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm constantly thinking of ideas, and I've found a place. I found a colleague in Avnish. He's at Avnish, that really values empathy when we're building something. And I've never really heard a founder talk about the importance of empathy, not just in schools, but in building supports for educators, for parents, for students. We have to understand where everyone's coming from. We have to use things like artificial intelligence that is becoming more and more prevalent to help and assist teachers and principals, because family community engagement is not easy. And, you could cruise over some research here or there and completely buck the system you're trying to support, where we're trying to build something that really is your friend, something that's going to help you and keep you accountable, but also something that's going to be able to tie your work and the metrics that you're gaining from your families out into the school. So it's exciting. It's some exciting work. I'm not here to pitch Schoolsy tonight or anything like that, but I am really invested in that. I spent 8 months learning about it with my family, and working as educational innovations and for Schoolsy.
Yeah, I think.
Well, people, we lost Joe. We're going to hang on for just a minute here. I'm sure he will be back. Again, he's in a hotel lobby, so his bandwidth is a little bit limited, but looks like he's popping back on now. You're back.
I don't know what happened. I haven't moved. Okay.
You're good. So,
sorry about that. I am in the hotel lobby side meeting room because where we're staying, the internet was terrible.
No, all good.
So my apologies.
No, all good. So you were talking about family and community engagement, and we're going to get into that just a little bit more. Talk to us about why this is so imperative. And as educators, what can we do to get more of our families engaged and connected to their child's educational journey? You started down this path a little bit, and we know you've done a ton of work on this with your dissertation and all of those things, but let's talk about that a little bit more.
Sure. I think if those that are listening in or watching that have kids, they really don't need to be pitched family community engagement. They understand when they get out of the car in the morning and go into the school to work as an educator, as a principal, as a custodian, as a secretary, whatever your role is, that you send your kid to school and you're hoping at the end of the day to get them back in even better shape than you sent them. So really, a lot of our work in schools is to understand from the lens of the child I find that talking to people that work in schools and helping them, keep your parent hat on when you walk in the front door of your school. Continue to think about those kids as if they were your own. Plan as if they were your own. I think we all have high expectations of the teachers and the schools and the principals that we send our own kids to. I think we should hold ourselves, we should hold those same high expectations for ourselves when we're engaging them. Again, it's a practice in empathy. I feel like we talk so much when it comes to family community engagement when we actually should be listening. Really creating lots of ways to engage with families. I think it's one of the least innovative places in the field of education. We're still doing back to school night. We're still doing these 11-minute drive-by parent-teacher conferences. We're still doing homework in some schools. So I think that we really need to take a good look in the mirror at what we've learned about this. And honestly, over the last 6 years since I've been doing a lot of work in this area, and now being a father of 4, I see this work so much clearer than I've ever seen before. But it's really because I'm taking an active role in my child's education at home. And I have so much that I even want to share with the teacher, with the school, when my son does become school age. But, knowing the culture of family community engagement, I know we're trying very hard to put it on the front burner, but there's still an awful lot of schools that aren't very interested in engaging with parents and with the community. So my goal is to put some really great models out there, ones that are, right down the center of innovation, empathy, empowerment, help parents and teachers and school leaders, school boards, communities really become partners. They're not sides. I think we constantly fret parents as educators. I think it's certainly just something we need to have more dialogue on. Be inviting more of the staff's kids to the kids events at the schools when possible, to really kind of blur those lines. Every parent and teacher that is serving those dual roles should be talking together. We should display a little bit of humility and tell each other about how tough it is at home with little kids and trying to get to work every morning.
True that. That's exactly right, Joe. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure there are plenty of other parents that are educators as well that feel that same thing every morning. Another question that we have, go ahead and make sure those of you who are watching, I know there's several of you on here watching, if you have questions for Joe, please shoot them to us via Twitter and we will ask them anytime. So just go ahead and put them on out there. But as for right now, the maker movement is an obvious passion of yours. Where can someone who is just starting out go for the best resources?
Yeah. There's so many resources out there. I think at The Nerdy Teacher, Nicholas Provenzano has a book out. Laura Fleming has books out. I think you're going to be surprised when I say this, but I would actually say don't necessarily go anywhere, but do your own inventory of what you're doing at home, inside and outside. Is there anything around your house that needs to be fixed? Is there something that's old that needs to be replaced? Some of the best making we do at home is when we find an opportunity to upcycle and create something at home. My parents, we didn't have a whole lot of money growing up. So for me to get anything besides like a stick of gum or a pack of baseball cards, those are the things that my parents usually brought home for me. And I was happy with. But I think if you think about, hey, my 4-year-old has just kind of started to like basketball. And we're not really sure if this is going to be like a 2-week habit that he likes basketball and then he's going to move on to the next phase, because we've been in and out of a lot of different things over the last year or so. But if you go on Craigslist.com, and I'm I frequent Craigslist Philadelphia's free section, and I have a big van, so I can pick up a lot of things that other people can't pick up, which is actually paying big dividends as a dad, and I think it's saving me some money. But so last week we picked up a basketball net, one of those rims that you kind of change the height from 5 feet to 7 feet to 8 feet. And we brought it home. It's super old. I think it's probably 12, 13 years old, but it's really, the body's in good shape. The bolts, the hardware's in good shape. We tested. I hung on it myself, and I didn't collapse or anything like that. So we basically sanded it down. We've gotten a new net to put on it. We've replaced a couple bolts, and when we get back from the shore next week, we're going to paint it. And then we will have made or upcycled a basketball court that somebody was giving away for free. And there's a lot of things that, Dan, you've been in my house. There's tires all over my backyard, and we've been picking up tires, I guess, at a clip of 5 or 6 a week for the last couple months. And we're building a go-kart track, in the backyard. And so we're constantly building things. Big shout out and thanks to my wife for putting up with me in all of our projects. But we're in beta. We're constantly learning how to do different things. We're trying to be green. We're trying to be smart about this or that. We're finding bugs outside. We're making them on 3D printers to make them bigger. So there's a lot of great resources out there, but I think it's up to us as parents to try and make the connection of where our kids are developmentally and what's around our surroundings. What's the low-hanging fruit for us? What are things we don't have to necessarily buy for kids? We're one of the families that does the Amazon STEM Club. We get something, Mark gets something in the mail once a month that just shows up in an Amazon box in the front door. And it's almost just as exciting for me because I'm not sure what's coming. And I'm sure they tell us a list somewhere, but I haven't really glanced at it. But last month it was something on coding. The month before that it was a Phillips Stanley, learning how to use screws and whatnot. So we're having a lot of fun with it. And I'm not like the handy person. I played sports growing up. My dad is a carpenter. So I'm actually kind of learned this later in life. And I'm a learner, so I'm enjoying it. Enjoying making with the kids. Make everything from pizzas to 3D printers. We've got a Cricut now. And that's not the bug, but it's actually something that cuts vinyl, and we can make swag. So I'm thinking of all these schools, for example, San Filippo School up in Wisconsin, they have a lot of swag. They have more swag than any school I've ever seen in my entire life, probably more swag than all the schools in Pennsylvania combined. But why aren't we empowering kids to make swag for schools today? Do we have to be buying all these things off the shelf, or can we actually consider swag part of this maker movement as well, because there's so many different options today. So we're having fun. It's something different every week. I'm trying to post as much as I can about it. Again, if you haven't been on any of the sites, it's facebook.com/makerdads, instagram.com/makerdads, twitter.com/makerdads. And we're encouraging dads to be inclusive. Again, dads meaning granddads, other male role models, fathers out there, to post what they're making with their kids and use the hashtag MakerDads.
Awesome. Yeah, I have indeed seen your backyard just a couple of months ago, and it kind of resembles Mario Kart. It was in the makings of a track and everything, and then you've got your garage with your projectors, and you've got a makerspace out there in and of itself. So all kinds of really, really cool stuff going on. But I love the comments about finding your own starting point and where that's going to be. And a lot of the stuff is it's free, it's there, and good things, Joe. Good things. So continuing talking Maker Dads here, congratulations to Maker Dads on hiring its first company employee. Tell us a little bit about this new role and how the position will make the organization better.
Yeah, and thanks for that. So Maker Dads is under the company, the LLC I started through 2 summers ago on vacation. Actually, I started the company on vacation two summers ago. You just get different time to think. I don't know how to describe it, but you're just in a different place thought-wise with the noise, without all the noise of the year and the grind. So C64 Kid Innovations, of course, utilize that when I'm out in the field consulting, but I'm also launching a face-to-face Maker Dads. So there's this one piece that we go out in the van and we park and we set up a tailgate for parents and kids and teachers and whatnot, and we innovate. But there's also a part where we're building at home in my garage 6 stations where dads and daughters, dads and sons, moms and daughters, moms and sons can actually come in. So think Airbnb for makers. You can come in, you can build something. We've got 3D printers in there, we've got Cricuts in there, we've got projectors, whiteboards, you name it. Let's say a kid's got a Pinewood Derby coming up, they're a Cub Scout and they need a spot to work. I give them a spot for a certain amount of time and provide all the supplies and the machines and this and that. So it's an incubator of sorts, I would say. And I obviously am on the road at times, and I can't necessarily be in the physical location to kind of take control of different things. And I also get a lot of emails and phone calls, and people reach out on various, I think even just for this GHO, we connected on 3 or 4 different social media about it. And it's really, it's stressful these days because you're not really sure where your messages are and where you should be when. And I think we're trying to blur the lines, but at least I'm still feeling overwhelmed with all the social media. I don't know about you guys. But anyway, I hired a man named Ami Profeta, and Ami is my next door neighbor. I just turned 40. He'll be 40 soon. He's 39. And he's a really smart, funny, he's a great guy. He's really great with my kids. And it was about a year ago that we moved into this house, and it was about 6 months ago that I hired him on as my intern at C64 Kid Innovations. And I've been training him on being a digital concierge. So being able to answer my Facebook messages, respond with availability and dates, being able to book Google Calendar invites and send out conference call links, sending them a quick text saying, is this week available, or am I in a different state or whatnot? So the thing about Ami that people don't know, and I don't tell people, is that Ami every single day works with cerebral palsy. And he's constrained to his wheelchair, but he's got an assistive technology that allows him to communicate with me, with my kids, with my wife, with the community. And I've taken an interest in helping him find a job. And this started about 7 months ago when I started going to job fairs with him here in the city of Philadelphia, helping him with his resume, writing applications, this and that. And I really found that he was getting the runaround because he was in a wheelchair. And so it's been really, I'm an empathy chaser. I'm constantly looking to learn something or find a new lens. Fortunately, I don't have to be in a wheelchair every day, and to figure out, if the sidewalk's blocked, how I'm going to get around that and not get hit by a car on the way to the synagogue, so to speak. So there's been all kinds of things that him and I have navigated, but I can tell you, and my friends that are watching and listening know that I've got a lot of things swirling around my head on most days, and he is a constant for me in that he checks in every day. He tells me what's going on during the day. He'll, get a hold of me if someone needs to speak with me right away. The model that I'm using with him, I honestly started drafting while thinking about artificial intelligence and thinking about X.AI. I did a beta test for Amy last year. It was the virtual assistant that could book calendars, set up this, set up that. And Ami is better than any artificial intelligence because him and I have a relationship. I know him personally. He knows me. He comes over. We have our weekly meetings on Fridays on my front patio. So it's really exciting. I think it's something where hopefully the more and more we do together, we're trying to build out a credentialing system for people that are handicapped, so that maybe a business, a school, a company, somebody that actually needs some digital concierge work, some messaging support, as all of these small mom and pop shops realize they need social media too, because that's where a lot of people are today. Maybe people like Omni can get hired and can fulfill some of those jobs in a really positive and successful way, even better than hiring someone that knows nothing about your company, your school, and whatnot. In 7 months, he knows a lot about what I'm doing on a daily basis, and I'm excited to go out on the road, not knowing that even if there's still things happening at home, he's able to communicate, he's able to respond to folks and help the business, our new family business, Maker Dads, kind of get off the ground and really be stabilized in an organizational way.
So busy is what we hear. So you're a father of 4, you are a husband, you are teaching at Penn. You launched Maker Dads Tour. It's coming this fall. So you mentioned briefly earlier this company that you just joined, Schoolsy. Can you tell us some more about that?
Yeah. So Schoolsy, and the conversation since the National Family and Community Engagement Conference out in San Francisco, that's really where we became public about, hey, I'm formally involved, because in 20 years, I've never worked with a company. I've never worked with any ed tech company on a formal basis. And I really wanted people, especially the people in my PLN, to understand that. I'm not just tweeting about this because this is a cool idea or this or that. I am actually working on a daily basis to help the CEO and founder, Avnish, build this for schools. And family and community engagement happens to be an area that we're not really talking about, and we're not really assessing. We assess everything under the sun, but I haven't really seen any schools or districts truly assess family and community engagement while using metrics, while using a family and community engagement index number, and really quantitatively and qualitatively using the research that is not brand new, has been around for a while, to really do that and to answer questions and to make it a productivity tool so that teachers don't feel such a huge burden of all the different things you have to do to successfully engage families and community. Because there's a lot. But we need to be efficient people. We need to remind ourselves, and we need to rely on technology. It's why things are being invented today, so that our brains don't have to work so hard in some areas. So just really looking forward to kind of getting that deeper and deeper out there. I'm not going to tell you about the model, but it makes money for schools. And that's not something that I learned in the first couple of weeks about it, because it was really truly about, all right, tell me more about this assessing family and community engagement while being in fidelity with the research. That I was very interested when I heard that, but then later understanding that there's a swag part built in, there's a yearbook piece built in, there's ways that, as families, as parents, we're already spending money in schools, and this interface actually brings it around so the families can make money. Your PTA can make money through this. So it's exciting. You're going to hear a lot more about it. I'm going to be doing some webinars. I'm going to be introducing my PLN to Avnish. We're just excited about building this and getting it into schools. And right now there's about 77 schools across the United States that are utilizing it on a daily basis. And again, it's only 2 years old. And the interface was built by 2 very smart guys. And now we're finally getting into a point where hopefully the second round of funding is going to show up any day. And there's a lot of other things that we're going to be getting ready to do. And so you'll be hearing about it. But Schoolsy, SCHOOLZE on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Awesome. So you've got 2 books coming out. One I heard you speak about at the National Principals Conference last month in Lead Learners that you co-authored with Derek McCoy. But if you could briefly talk about these two books that you do have in coming out, Lead Learners, and then also the Education Right Now, if you would.
I'm not good at sitting still, so writing a book has been very, very difficult. And there are times where I just said, I'm just not a book writer. I just shouldn't be doing this. I'm wasting people's time. I'm wasting publishers' contracts. But Derek has been just an awesome guy to write with. He's got a lot going on in his life. He is still a practicing middle school principal. So our days are very different, where I work from home on a lot of days, and I have kids that are running in and out of the room where I am, because it's very hard to keep them out of when I'm doing something really super cool and they want to be involved in. And he's at school all day with kids. So some of the challenge of talking and creating a book together on Google Hangouts and Google Docs and FaceTime and all that is scheduling. But this is a book for parents and educators. This is a book that really hopefully sets learning as something that all of us can and should be doing, regardless if we have kids, regardless if we are teachers. It's really about taking control of your learning, but modeling this for those around you. How do you continue to lead a healthy life? There's a lot of neuroscience built into the book. There's a lot of intellectual humility that's baked into the book as well. I did a TED Talk on that back at my old high school a couple months back, and you guys will never see it because I lost the video. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do about that. Because I spent hours and hours and hours working on this thing because I was so stressed about going back to my high school, being invited back to my high school I graduated from, to do something like that. And anyway, I'm here to tell you it happened, but there's no evidence of it. And intellectual humility happens to be one of the top traits that big companies like Google, for example, is looking for. It's that ability to fail strategically. The ability to learn from failing and change your ways. I remember being interviewed as a first-year teacher, and I think I might have said that I was a perfectionist, that I wanted to get everything right, and I always spend time doing this and that. And looking back, I would consider that a flaw. If I interviewed somebody today. And I think we've got to embrace beta. I think we have to know that we're going to get some things and we're going to struggle with others, and that's part of the routine. And we've got to allow kids and encourage them to fail. It's part of the design thinking process. And so empathy is built into just about every one of the chapters. We've got a lot of great stories in it. And not just stories from the school, a lot of stories of educators being moms and dads and grandparents, and male and female role models. So we're excited about it. It's taken its time getting out, but we think it's going to be a really inclusive thing that brings people together, even without our work on Lead Learners. The Lead Learners hashtag is busy on a daily basis. We just want to define it. We're seeing the word lead learner be the title in lots of different countries for job descriptions. Hey, we're looking for a lead learner to serve in this role. And as Derek and I saw that, we're just like, well, what does it mean? We have to define it for people. There isn't just one lead learner at the school. Lead learner is not the principal. These are myths. So we're kind of dispelling some myths and really sharing with examples and with stories how today's moms, dads, teachers, principals, mailmen, so to speak, are learning on the job and how they're sharing that learning with kids.
Awesome. Great stuff. From the presentation that I heard you guys deliver was just outstanding, and I can't wait for that book to come out. And then how about if we would talk a little bit about the writing retreat and the Education Right Now book that you're editing with Jeff Zoll and those 10 other authors, and some of the topics and thoughts that went into that.
Yeah, this was a really powerful experience. It was a personal experience. Jeff and I were talking after one of the What Great Educators Do Differently conferences. And if you're in New York, there's one coming to you in October. So WGEDD.com. Really cool conference. And we're talking about these 3-day events, whether it be a conference, whether it be this and that. And we're just like, you know what? We should bring writers together, people together that not only enjoy the work of writing and blogging, but also a whole bunch of people from a whole bunch of different areas that could write on various topics. So we began thinking about this about a year and a half ago. We pitched it to Rutledge last year. They're like, let's give it a try. And so there were 10 writers. We all wrote about something different. I wrote about mental health and the fact that we spent a lot of time considering its challenges and being fearful of it and wondering what to do and talking about how we need to do something, but rarely do we actually look it in the mirror and deal with it, how it's being portrayed in society today. So one of the examples that I share in the chapter that I wrote was 13 Reasons Why. There's a book out. It was one of the highest rated Netflix shows last year. The percentage of teenagers that saw that on Netflix is probably more than the percentage of teenagers that have gone to the mall this year in any state. And schools aren't touching it. So I make the argument of, hey, if we know that 97% of kids between, 13 and 18 watch something, why wouldn't we be utilizing those moments or those clips in class to talk to kids about how we treat each other, about what we know about each other, about how we support each other, how we talk to each other? Mental health is something we've been involved with Semicolon EDU for a while now. And, that's a group that we have. It's a private Facebook group that supports educators that battle mental illness on a day-to-day basis. Could be ADHD, could be depression, could be, anything. We don't judge, we just support because you don't know what's going on in someone else's life. I think we can all make a lot of assumptions, but they're not healthy. Labels, assumptions, they're not healthy, and we need to put the oxygen mask on ourselves as adults before we help the kids, whether they're at home or at school. And the longer we avoid mental health being a real challenge for adults, I don't know how we're thinking we're going to help kids because they're watching us. They're soaking in our behaviors and how we look at certain topics every day. So yeah, it's going to be really cool. There's lots of other topics from EdTech to assessment to leadership. But check it out. It should be right around the December holiday weeks.
Awesome. Thanks for going into that. I think Andrea's got one more for you.
I do. Definitely some exciting things on the horizon, which you've talked to us about. What's next? What else is coming that you haven't mentioned? What's going to be your focus?
Well, right now I'm really working on building the Maker Dads tour. I'm going to try to probably visit 10 to 12 schools here in the fall, winter. Once the weather gets too cold, we'll probably just rely on doing the work at home, not taking the van on the road much in December, January. But February, March, April, we're going to be heading south down 95 to hit. We've got interested schools in Pennsylvania, Virginia. We're going to be at FETC. I'm going to take the van down to FETC. Derek and I are presenting lead learners down there. And I'm also going to test drive an ELF. I don't know if you guys know what an ELF is, but it's Organic Transit on Twitter. It is a solar-powered car that looks more like a bicycle. But the plan is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so I'm really, truly into innovating life, not just school. And I'm trying to find as many ways as I can to kind of be more efficient. And driving a really big van around that only gets like 14, 15 miles a gallon isn't going to cut it when I need to just go to the store and get milk. So I'm just constantly working on myself. I was an Apple person from the night it came out till about 2 years ago, and then I switched to Android. I've had Apple's, PCs, Chromebooks. I'm trying to just continue to expand my own knowledge, and I'm doing that not only with the students at Penn, because they're all split up in the technology they use. But I'm trying to do it at home too, to not so much focus on the things that are really great and have lots of features and are out of people's price range, but just trying to stay around that median. The dads I'm going to be looking to engage are in the bell curve. The average dad, what can he do? What can he afford, and how can we make teaching and learning easy for he and his child when we're out on the road? So it's an exciting time, and I'm really happy to be doing this work and reinvesting. And I guess I consider it broadening the work. Being a dad myself now, I've never seen this work clearer. So it's exciting to get out there in the field and actually work with teachers and principals and their family community engagement work through innovation.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. I do have just a few resources I want to share with you. You can find Joe on Twitter at Mazza. You can also follow at MakerDads and the hashtag MakerDads. You can find MakerDads on Instagram and Facebook. So go ahead and make sure you check those out as well. And then Joe, we'll just ask for just a short closing message from you to round out our chat tonight.
Yeah, if you're listening in, feel free to send me a message with your, send me a DM if you're on Twitter, or a message on Facebook with your address, and I'll send you some MakerDad swag. We've been making all of our own swag, using pallets, using vinyl, using whatever we can around the house. So we've made a whole bunch of things. You'll be seeing them posted on Instagram. You'll be seeing them at schools. And we're excited. Our first MakerDads event is in 2.5 weeks outside of LA. So it's exciting work. And, I'm thankful for the PLN, that I've been spending a lot of time over the last 5-6 years building. Now we're developing a PLN of dads. So it's inclusive. Find MakerDads, be a part of it. It's not about any one person. It's really truly about this movement for kids. On innovation, making, empathy, empowerment, and I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of great dads on the road this year and hearing the stories.
All right, I'm going to close it up with a couple of regional events, and we just really have one coming up in about 6 weeks, the ITech conference, so the Iowa Technology and Education Connection Conference, October 15th through the 17th at the Iowa Event Center. That is in Des Moines. You can check out information that at www.itech-ia.org. And to our followers, to our listeners, if you've got regional, national, local events you'd like us to highlight on our live shows, feel free to give us a shout out. We will do the same for you. Connect with us on that IAedChat hashtag. Want to thank everyone for joining us tonight and sharing your thoughts on IAedChat Live. It is always a pleasure learning with all of you. Very special thank you to our guest tonight, Dr. Joe Mazza. And on behalf of Andrea and myself, thank you for joining IAedChat Live. Be sure to follow some of the new friends you met tonight and visit the IAedChat hashtag to continue the conversation. We will be back next week with another great topic. And until next time, be the change. Good night, everyone.